Greetings and salutations. My name is Peter, and today we'll be looking at a new watch from Borealis. The watch is called the Porto Santo. And first of all, I'll just read some stats off the Borealis website, and then we can have a chat about the watch. Right, so it has a case size of 44 millimeters times 53 millimeters, so it's rather large. It has a screw-down crown. It has a sapphire crystal with AR coating on the inside. It's powered by a Miyota 8218 automatic movement. The case is made of 316L stainless steel. The lug width is 24 millimeters. It has a water resistance of 300 meters. The case height is 14.4 millimeters. It comes with a very nice thick leather strap. The loom is a Swiss-made C3 or Superluminova BGW9. It has a screwed case back with the engraved Borealis mermaid, which I like so very much. It could be because there's boobies on it, but don't quote me on that. Finally, it comes with a 12-month warranty. Right. Okay. So this is the name of this watch is the Porto Santo. Now, Porto Santo is a small island, 43 kilometers northeast of Madeira Island in the North Atlantic Ocean. These were islands that were colonized by the Portuguese. There are records of the island as far back as 1339, but in 1348 or 49, that's when they colonized the island. And they colonized it a bit by accident, really, because they were out sailing, as Portuguese did back then. Two things the Portuguese liked to do back in the day was to irritate the English and to go out and colonize. And they did that extremely well. So they were sailing along and hit by a storm. And, the riggings were being frayed and the ship was rolling and, sailors were being thrown off, screaming. And they suddenly see an island, previously, at least for them, unknown island. And they manage somehow, miraculously, to guide their ship into a sort of a lagoon or a piece of sort of a nature-made port, and out of the wind, and they survived, and they called the sailors on this boat actually called this Porto Santo, which as far as I know means holy island, and they meant this must have been divine intervention. God showed them this island so they could survive, and that's where the island has its name from. Now, it's a holiday resort island like Tenerife and places like that. But back in the day, it was discovered quite by accident. So this is the Porto Santo, and that's the history behind it. I don't know if you guys notice, but I always like to talk a bit about the names of watches, if there is any interesting name. Watches aren't just given names, randomly. Well, some are maybe, but I tend to think, I like to believe that the watch names are thought about, and and this watch, okay, it doesn't this watch styles itself of like the early divers of the 1930s. You'll notice, first of all, it has no dive bezel. So many of you can say, "Oh, how can this be a diver?" Well, it can and is, because it has a 300-meter depth rating. So how can this be a dive watch without a dive bezel? Well, the early dive watches didn't have bezels. You were just supposed to be a real man and remember what the hell, the minute hand was saying when you went down. And if you forgot, you were in big trouble, So this is sort of a learning by doing dive watch. You have to remember what the minute hand said when you dived, or else you might be in big trouble. Anyway, so this is, the style the very vintage style of this watch. I really like it a lot. I have been, I was a bit sort of. I do love dive watches, and one of the things that I love about dive watches is the fact that they have bezels. I like the cool thing, you clickety clickety thing and all that. So I was a bit anxious. I'd seen pictures of this, but I must say, pictures don't really do this any justice at all. They really don't. I've seen pictures on the web, but when it arrived and when I got it in my hand, and I felt, how I felt the chunkiness of it, and the weight. It really weighs. It has such a great feeling to it. When it arrived, I just thought, wow, this is it's a very imposing watch, and I really like that. I'll give you a wrist shot. Now I have some might call my wrist feminine. I don't think it is, but I'm not the biggest of people. But again, I like large watches. I think it sits really well on my arm. It is a large watch, and it comes in two different colours, which I also rather like. This one is rather bold with the yellow. Very good for a summer watch. And I don't know, every time I hear myself think or say that, summer watch, winter watch, there's another part of my head that says, what a load of bollocks, Peter. There's nothing called a summer watch. I mean, you might have some bright colours, but why can't you wear that at winter? I know that, some people say, oh, these bright watches like, let's say, some people swear that they'll only wear their Omega Planet Ocean with the orange bezel and the orange strap in the summertime because it goes well with the bright colours of your Bermuda shorts and surfer dude attitude. But I think you could wear this watch all the time. This is not anything that screams summer watch for me. The other colour they have, I haven't got one of those, unfortunately. They only sent me this one. But the other one that they have has a sort of a brownish ring to it. It's a little bit less colourful, is probably the best word. So it's a little bit toned down, but also, that looks pretty cool. I haven't seen it in real life, so I won't be able to say, but I like this, and I would probably wear this all year round. I don't really subscribe to the whole summer winter watch thing. So it's powered by a Miyota movement, and it's a Miyota 8218. And actually today I posted a picture of this on Facebook, and a guy goes, "Well, I really like the design, but the Miyota turned me off." And I respect people's opinions, but I have the sort of, but why? I'm aware of the fact that there might be a slight quality difference between Miyota and ETA or something like that. But Miyotas, they just keep on, and they're awesome. I mean, remember, this movement was designed by a Japanese person. Every time a Miyota breaks down, a Japanese person commits harakiri. Sorry to all you Japanese people out there. I know that's just a joke, and it's not very funny, but it is funny anyway. So, I mean, the Japanese take their design very seriously, and in my personal opinion, again saying there might be a quality difference between Miyota and ETA movements, but there is also quite a large price difference between the two. And having a watch, I have not lots of watches, but I have quite a few watches with Miyota movements, and I've never had any problems with them. And if I do have a problem with them, I know that my good friend who's a watchmaker can. And here's the secret, guys. Now, most watchmakers won't even bother to repair a Miyota. They will just order a new one because they're so cheap and they're so good, that they, practically never break down. But when they do, they're so cheap that you just order a new one, plonk it in, and you're you're good to go the next, I don't know, 10, 15 years. So in my opinion, I think there's a lot of, still a lot of Swiss versus Japanese snobbery going on, and I don't subscribe to that. I love the Swiss and their movements and the history of the Swiss movements and Swiss watch industry. I do. I really do. But I also respect, the Japanese tenacity, to design and to just to press their designs, which they do really well. I mean, Japanese watches, some of the Seikos and so on, the Citizen watches, they're awesome. They're really awesome watches, and they just keep on. I read an article the other day, not the other day, to be quite honest, a couple of months ago, about I think it was one diver was diving in a lake in the US. This might be, but the idea is right. And at the bottom, he finds a Seiko, vintage Seiko watch, and he picks it up. He recognizes something through all the weeds and stuff, and he picks it up, and it has an engravement on the back. And he takes it to the local police station, and they find the guy who actually owns the Seiko, and he says, "Oh, I dropped that 10 years ago." While I was fishing or something like that, and they take it back and they wind it up and it starts ticking. Now, I'm not saying Swiss watches couldn't do that. I'm just saying, I'm not going to bash on Japanese movement or watchmaking because they really do make good watches. So this has a Miyota movement and in my opinion, that's awesome. No problem there at all for me. Now, what else can we say? Yeah, it has a nice leather strap. I like this. This is really macho and cool. It looks like one of the links that holds the treads together on a tank. It's very nice. It has a roll pin here thing with Borealis very nicely etched into it. If you also notice the chapter ring, it says Borealis Porto Santo on it, and very, very well made indeed, very nicely machined there. And let's have a look at the back of it. Again, it just feels really nice, this watch. I can't help thinking what it would be like with a shark mesh on. Now, if you could see me, you'd know I was smiling because practically whatever watch I get in my little grubby hands, I'm always going, "Ooh, let's put a shark mesh on." But actually, this actually does. This leather strap is very thick, very manly, and does sort of work very well with this watch, I would say. It does have a different way of changing the straps, but nonetheless, nothing easy. Sorry, my English failed me again. Well, it has a sort of a little screw here, or umbraco, or if that's the English name for it, which one would loosen, and then you can pull this out, put a new strap on, and so on. And that's the way that's done. Anyway, what else could we say? Oh yeah, I wanted to look at the bit. If you see close up, isn't she beautiful? I still love that. And yeah. So all in all, this is a vintage 1930s inspired dive watch from Borealis, which has a 300 meter depth rating, and it comes with a sapphire crystal, a good, hard-working, proven Miyota movement. There's nothing bad about this watch. I quite honestly haven't got anything negative to say about it. It's a style of watch that I'm not really used to reviewing or making show tells about. the whole thing just looks very, very well machined again, as this is very typical for Borealis watches. Has a high polish here on the bezel, but and it's very well, very sharp. If one can say it reeks of quality, this watch, it really does. And for the price you're paying, again, Borealis are just, they're really hard to beat when it comes to quality versus cost. I mean, they could have chosen to put an ITA movement in, but the price would have gone up. And there's, well, there's really no point. Again, I think one of the goals of Borealis watches is to make well-made quality watches for affordable prices, and that's what they do. You have a really well-made. The thing feels like it's built like a tank, and watch for an affordable price for all of us. Now, many of you who know me may know that I work as a garbage man, and for all of us who don't make $1 million, pounds, euros a month, we can't go out and buy, Rolexes and Omegas and Cartiers all the time. So this is for us. This is the watch for the guy who likes economical watches that are well built, and it really is, I must say. So anyway, I can't praise this anymore. Well, I could, but that would just be stupid. So I'll just say, with those words, if you, and I say this all the time, hopefully some of you listen sometimes, I would love it if you join my Facebook group, Peter's Watch Show and Tell group on Facebook, obviously, or you can like and subscribe here on YouTube, and also please write comments. Please keep your comments about the watch, and I'll try and see. The thing about this is that that when I'm finished with, I have to send this back to Borealis. And that is a bit of a problem sometimes when you ask me specific questions where I have to have the watch to answer them. And so please be aware that I don't have the watch anymore, probably when you're watching this. So if you're going to ask me, I don't have a weight, so I can't weigh this. If you're going to ask me how much it weighs, I can't tell you because they didn't list it on Borealis' website. And and I don't have the watch, so I couldn't even borrow a weight and weigh it. But ask away, and I'll try and answer as good as I can, as precise as I can. Right. Okay. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I hope to talk to you again soon with another watch. Thanks. Peter out. Bye bye.